Welcome to Do It for the Gram and Enneagram podcast with your host, certified Enneagram coach Milton Stewart, where we do it for the Enneagram, not Instagram. We make our moves to improve our community and those around us. So we are in the series of defense mechanisms, and this episode is dedicated to the Enneagram 3. If you missed the first two episodes I did with Elizabeth Worm, please check those out because we go in depth quite a bit on those about like wounding messages and healing messages, along with a little bit of the defense mechanisms as well. So check those out. But also, if you're one of those people who are like, I just check out the ones that say my number, this is totally fine too. Let's go intro music. I'm super excited to announce my new partnership with BetterHelp. This episode is actually sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are struggling, BetterHelp can help. You'll receive 10% off your first month when you sign on using betterhelp.com/doit. So I'm super excited about this partnership that me and BetterHelp have entered into, because in this point where everything that we're doing right now to connect with people is more virtual, it is so important. Mental health, I think that aligns perfectly with things that we're trying to do, things that I want to do, and anybody that I would refer or think that could be potentially beneficial to the audience. And I think BetterHelp is definitely one of them. BetterHelp is basically, it's online counseling or therapy. So you're able to actually get some counseling or therapy depending on what's going on, from licensed counselors and therapists around the country. And you get to be able to get some of that one-on-one mental checkup that you may need. And BetterHelp's able to help you. So just go to betterhelp.com/doit and you'll get a 10% discount for your first month. So what are Enneagram defense mechanisms? They're tricky because they look very similar to your Enneagram type. So it can be hard to identify them, which is a funny word to use in this episode, by the way, as well. But it can be kind of tricky to see and know what they are because they blend in perfectly with your already Enneagram type structure. And the problem, and what makes it so important to recognize the defense mechanisms of each of our types, is the fact that if we don't recognize it, we will continuously not be able to go deeper into our actual growth. And specifically talking about the 3, and this is for every type, but the defense mechanism kind of lies right before something is able to get to your heart. So the defense mechanisms kick in right when something has tripped your ego. And your defense mechanism or your type structure is like, something's about to go where we don't really like to go. We like to stay here and be in this stuck pattern and this false reality of which our personality defense mechanism can create for ourselves. So it kicks in and we just do that pattern like it's nothing else. And a lot of times that pattern for type 3s keeps the type 3 in that same pattern of doing, overdoing, looking for ways to just get things done and be effective and maybe develop their mind and their body, but they miss the part that is their heart. So that is the trickiest part, especially for the type 3. So I'm going to describe the defense mechanism by using the law of 3. I learned this from the narrative Enneagram. And so part of that is how I'm going to introduce this defense mechanism. And so at one end of this line, you have the 3 structure, the ego structure, which believes it is successful and capable as an ideal, okay? If you're listening and you know a 3, then you know they're passionate about being highly capable of doing things and being successful, right? So at one end of our triangle, we have that. I am successful and capable. Okay, that's the type structure speaking. So in order for that idealization of themselves to stay intact, they must avoid failure and disapproval. So if you think about it now, in your triangle, because we're talking about the law of 3, so that creates a triangle. If you use a line that goes straight across. And on this other end of the line, there is failure and disapproval. Now, in order for those two to coexist together, because if you believe you are successful and capable, and not that you can be successful and capable, but that you are, then you have to avoid anything that looks or feels like failure or disapproval, which is reality. What ends up happening is a defense mechanism of identification. So that law of three, that triangle, is going to connect at the bottom. That law of three triangle is going to connect at the bottom, because it is an inferior move and not a superior move, in the sense that it is moving towards something that is not actually really helpful and beneficial in your life. So that triangle is going down and it's connecting at the point of identification. So what is identification? Because it's like, what is that? As a defense mechanism for the three, it is a pattern of behavior that affixes different identities to oneself, and believing that their value is derived from that role, position, or status. Also can lead to becoming unaware of what is really going on inside, and their authentic self is sacrificed for a role that they may be playing or wanting to be. So what this can look like, if something has tripped or triggered the ego structure of the three, they may attach even more readily to maybe where they work or their work. They may attach more closely to looking successful in the way that they work, moving up in the company of wherever they're doing different things, the position, the name, maybe it's a title that they hold or they want to hold, and they'll affix themselves to that title and say, that is me. It's a defensive way of not actually getting towards the deeper roots and parts of themselves, or allowing others to get to the deeper intimacy and connection with them as well. And so that's what happens when the ego is triggered. And so in many different situations, you may see a three try to, and this is not the person necessarily. Remember, this is the personality structure. And when we're not in control, the ego and the personality are running the show. So you will see the personality structure of the three take on a whole new personality, whatever that they feel will get approval or the look that they want and they need, or that accolade or that acceptance or whatever it is, they will like totally become it. And it's at the sacrifice of their actual selves and what they actually want, so they can totally become it. And I've seen this happen in many different threes where they literally may go polar opposites into something that they are a part of or that they're doing, because at that time it feels like the thing that's going to actually give them that feeling of value. Okay, so that's what happens. Does your workplace stink because the culture sucks? Are you tired of tolerating people and wish you could all work together cohesively? Does going to work give you instant anxiety? If you say yes to any one of these, you should probably quit your job. But since you aren't going to quit your job, you should call Kaizen Careers. At Kaizen Careers, we are all about improving personal and workplace performance. We use a unique tool called the Enneagram. The Enneagram helps individuals and organizations become more self-aware. That self-awareness lends into helping organizations with communication, leadership, and conflict management, ultimately turning self-awareness into self-mastery and creating healthy workplace performance so you can improve your services and bottom line. You can reach Kaizen Careers at kaizencareers.com or 901-334-1644. So how do we counteract this defense mechanism? So for identification, one thing that threes can do is they can constantly work on tell yourself your truth and then tell others. Okay, this is very important, because when you tell yourself the truth, your truth, you have to go inside and really check in with yourself. And I really mean your truth for what's going on, because a lot of times threes are looking outwards to know like how to look, what to do, how they should be. And so one of the biggest things is tell yourself your truth first, then be able to tell others, because it is tricky when you get in an environment with other people, because the natural tendency of the three's ego is going to want to adjust and it's going to want to scan to see what's going on so it'll know how to be. But before you do that, before you enter that space, actually check in with yourself and tell yourself the truth before you start communicating to other people what your truth is. The next point. The next one is write down who you are and what you want. And can be tricky because threes always have goals. They always have something they're striving for attaining. But before you get there, really write down who you are, not who you want to be, but who you are. And that is a large and can be a vast difference depending on the three and where they are and the experiences they had in their life, because a lot of times a three may be judging themselves based on how they are now compared to who they perceive themselves of wanting to be. So there is this space and this void here of like not really acknowledging who they really are and being okay and honoring that part of themselves, aka a big part is their hearts, but of themselves. And so it's going to be super important to really write down who you are, because you'll never truly be happy with who you're trying to be until you know who you are. And you can never really get to who you're trying to be if you never know who you are. So it's going to be super important. And one thing you can do with that is literally journal it. You can write it down. Who am I? And that may be a search. And that may be a search for threes. It's like, who am I? And going to that place and being able to slowly work your way into constantly finding new and better caveats and more beautiful nuggets of yourself that may have been covered up by the type 3, because the ego structure of us all has a way to self-forget in a certain way. And so this is a way to remember who you really are, and so that you can overcome and counteract that defense mechanism of identification, so you can be more of the essence of who you really are and go after the things that you really want in life and not what everyone else wants. So that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Also, I want to let you know, right now, you can go and pre-order my new book that I have coming out, Motivate, Elevate, and Ameliorate. And it's going to be a pretty good book. Let me just say that. You can go pre-order. I would really appreciate if you did pre-order, because within the next few days, which is like a 30-day period, I am trying to make sure I get at least 1,000 pre-orders, and so that I'm able to get a big publisher so that they can pay for the upfront cost of the book when it does come out. So if you could do that, the link will be in the show notes. It's like publicizer.com/motivate/ameliorate/ameliorate. So if you could do that, that would be absolutely great. Also, there's a free ebook. If you go to my website, kaizencareers.com, and find ebook, you can find a free ebook there. And there's another one coming out as well. There's an amazing program by Russ Hudson and Jessica Dibb that they are doing. It's going to be a year-long, I think, certification course. If you want to do that, that would be cool, because I'm also going to be a coach and facilitator in that program with Russ Hudson and Jessica Dibb, which is, I'm so thankful and honored to be a part of that. I am also doing my own program starting August 5th. August 5th on Thursdays for 12 weeks, I will be doing my Kaizen Complete Enneagram program. And this program is based on community learning. It's based on developing yourself deeper and really not just learning the Enneagram, but embodying the Enneagram. And with a group of people who you build some amazing bonds with and amazing trust with. Right now, I have the first group. And I'm telling you, it is one of the best groups, and not just the group, but the container that I have been able to form with them is such a healthy place that people are growing, people are developing in ways and transforming in ways I never thought they would. And so I'm excited, overjoyed for it, just really thankful for the whole situation, everyone in it. So you can sign up for that also you can find it at kaizencareers.com, and it's going to be a banner there, or it'll be in the show notes as well, so you can do that. Also, shout out to my patrons, all of my Patreon supporters. I'm doing my best to continuously provide more content there and to connect with them. And if they have something that they really want to talk about one-on-one and just kind of chat with me, we can do that as well. And they also get discounts on things that are coming up as well. So that's about all I have for this episode. I thank you so much for listening. Thank you for you. Make sure you're doing well. And guess what? If you feel identification is coming up for you, you're a type 3, take a deep breath, pause, make a better choice, and do it for the gram, the Enneagram, of course. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Do It for the Gram podcast editing and mixing is done by Saw and Sign. Information will be in the show notes.